Hello and welcome to That Nerd Thing, where we uncover the magical impact that fandoms have on our lives. I'm Morgan, and usually before I introduce a guest on the show, I have a look at their website and their work, and I jot down some notes to create a brief introduction. And when I was looking at the website for today's guest, I absolutely loved the first line in her About Me section on her website, and so I'm going to steal it for this introduction. So today's guest is author Carly Ann West, and Carly is the author of, and I love this phrase, Spine-Tingly books for readers of all ages. I love that so much. So welcome, Carly. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited. Your books, like I was looking at all of them. I've already reserved so many at the library local to me because I want to check them out because it's up my alley. They look so fun.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad you have. I love libraries and I love when people reserve my books. So thank you.
Yeah. So can you just maybe tell listeners a little bit about the books that you write and so they can get an idea?
Absolutely. So the first two books I wrote were young adults, and they are standalone novels, The Murmurings and The Bargaining. And then the next 7 books I wrote are actually based on a video game called Hello Neighbor, and those are licensed property books. So that is a series based on a horror video game about a boy who is trying to discover what his eerie, secretive neighbor is up to across the street. And that is a first-player video game. It's kind of like a horror video game that has the player playing in a first-person position. So that's also told from the first person in the novels. And then I wrote a couple of novellas for the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, and I've written a short story for the Diablo video game franchise, and now I have a brand new series coming out that is not licensed property. It is all my own. I'm very excited. It's called The Ghosts of Nameless Island, and the first book in that series is coming out this July.
Oh, that's amazing. So everybody should go pre-order it, right?
Yes, yeah. It's available now for pre-order.
Awesome. I'll include the link to that in the show notes so that everybody can do that.
Thanks.
That sounds fun. So what is that book about?
It follows the adventures of Gus and his friends Tavi and Miles. Gus has a very special gift. He can see ghosts, and that's not a gift he considers a gift. It's kind of a curse for him, but he, in order to rid himself of the ghosts, he needs to find out what happened to them. He has just moved to a big spooky manor in the Pacific Northwest, and his mom is renovating that manor. And of course, it's full of ghosts. So he is in for a long and spooky residency in this manor. So he's got a lot of ghosts to discover and name on Nameless Island.
That sounds amazing. That sounds fun. So what age range is that for?
This is a middle grade series, so it's sold for ages 9 to 12, but of course anybody can enjoy any novel at any age.
Oh yeah, I read books of all ages.
Yeah.
That sounds fun. That sounds really good.
I try to mix in enough spookiness with humor, and I don't know, I have an adolescent sense of humor, frankly. I have some fart jokes in there. I've got a farting dog and a lot of poop jokes. It's just my sense of humor.
Love it. Love it. So everybody definitely go check out the show notes so you can pre-order that. Are you ready to jump into your nerdy identity?
I'm so ready.
I love this part. Okay, so what was the first thing that you were nerdy about?
It was I felt like it was a very long street to travail. It was a long catalog to go back on my nerdiness, but I feel like my most solid first memory of nerdiness was watching Star Trek Next Generation with my parents. And I feel like watching it with my parents was like a very important component of the nerdiness. If I was watching it alone, it would have been one thing. But the fact that like well into adolescence, I was watching it on weekend nights with my parents. So that really contributed to the nerdiness. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a ritual.
Oh, yeah. I'm talking like trivia over dinner and knowing all the actors' names and going really deep into it.
Yeah. Are you still a Star Trek fan?
I am a fan of the newly made movies. I think those are pretty solid, to be honest. I think they're really solid. And of course, if there's an old Next Generation on, I've got to watch it. It's too nostalgic. I have to watch it. But I never got into the other one. I never got into the the spin-offs from them, and I'm not into the original either.
Oh,
Funny for me.
interesting. So it's like a
I
whole Star
know.
Trek universe. I didn't realize
Yes.
that.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah.
There's an entire universe of it. Yeah.
Cool. What do you love about it?
It's really hard to pin down, but any sci-fi is an allegory for what's going on in contemporary society. So I always thought they did a really good job of bringing up the important questions, bringing up the larger questions of life. What was going on other planets was really just a model for what was going on this planet and what's going on between societies. So it was just a really great social commentary on how to handle life here on Earth, but making it fantasy and
Yeah.
making it sci-fi, but making it not so real. It was a removal enough from real life that
Yeah.
it wasn't too real. It just wasn't. It didn't hit home too hard.
But it sounds like it was very meaningful for you.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
What is your favorite nerdy thing?
My favorite nerdy thing. How many people do you get just like giggling before they give their answer? 'Cause I feel
Oh,
like
all the time. I love it. I love it.
it's just such like an embarrassing, like it's like true confession time. I love a good to-do list. And so
Ooh.
I bought this special stationery off Amazon. I found like a really pretty to-do list, and it's actually like very detailed. And it's got what you're grateful for up at the top, and you can say like what you're grateful for that day. And it can be something like totally trivial or benign, or it can be something really deep. And then you've got like a space for the date. It has like little droplets of water where you can put in how much water you've been drinking for the day, whether or not you've exercised. You've got a place for your appointments. You've got things like the top 3 things you have to accomplish for the day, things you actually did accomplish for the day.
I love that.
And I'm like obsessive about it, like to the point that I'll add something that I've done, even if it wasn't on my to-do list, just so I can have the satisfaction of checking it off.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I guarantee you people are listening right now and they're like, what is this to-do list? I want it.
I think it's called Bliss. I think the brand name of it is called Bliss. I'm not sponsored by them. I just love them. There's like a pink background to it. It's like white and pink. And I think the brand name is called Bliss. And they have like different formats of it too. But it's just like a tear off sheet. Sorry, environment. You can recycle the sheet afterwards. But yeah.
I love to-do lists also. I have a million of them. I need to get more organized, so maybe I'll check this one out.
Yeah, it's great. I highly recommend. Highly recommend a to-do list.
Love that. I love it. I don't think I've had that sort of favorite nerdy thing on the show before, so I love it.
You're going to be either really impressed or really bored by my answers then, because they're very office supply related.
Oh my gosh, I love office supplies. I can just go in a store and I want it all. And I'm like, but I don't need it all. And now especially, yeah, everything is electronic. I'm just like, oh.
I don't want the electronics. I want the paper. I want the stationery. I have a visceral reaction in those aisles in the store. Like I go into Target and I'm like, oh God. Oh God. Okay. Calm down. Calm down. But I start to shake a little bit.
Love it. What are you currently nerdy about?
There are these pencils.
Oh my gosh, I love this so much. I need to get like some office supply brand to sponsor this episode.
I know. There are these pencils called Black Wings, and they are like the primo pencils. They are a matte finish on the lead. You sharpen these. These are not mechanical pencils. These are like sharpening pencils. They have a flat tip eraser. It's like a paintbrush almost. Like it's like a flat brush sort of eraser on the back of them. But the lead is so smooth. It's so texturally satisfying to write with them. I'm telling you, like a freshly sharpened Black Wing, there's nothing like it.
I'm going to be checking all of this out after the show.
I can't believe how excited I've just gotten about a pencil.
What is the most underrated nerdy thing about you?
I feel like office supplies in general are just underrated. They don't get enough love. I agree. Everything's gone to electronics. I have tried a number of different electronically based writing utensils to try and make my writing life easier or more efficient. I tried this, I shouldn't name the brand or anything like that, but I tried essentially like a word processing gadget that doesn't have internet component attached to it. So it's supposed to be less distracting. And I just found it to be like funky and slow. I tried an electronic notepad that had like an electronic pencil attached to it because I figured that would be, like more environmentally friendly, and it would also translate my handwriting because sometimes I like to write by hand. It's easier for me to generate words a lot of the time by hand, and I journal a lot before I write the actual scene out in Word. But I just could not get the same feeling that I do when I use just like a sketch pad and write with a pencil or just a pen. Like there's nothing like it. There's nothing that achieves the same thing as a basic old pen and pencil. I think that's just the non-electronic thing about me is like the underrated thing. Also, I'm kind of a fanatic copy editor. And I think that's not uncommon for writers. I think a lot of writers really enjoy copy editing other people's stuff, not their own, but other people's stuff, and not in a critical way, but in a like juicy way. Kind of like, ooh, I really, really, really want to fix that comma, like I want to get at that. Like if they see somebody else's apostrophe or something, and they're like, oh, it's not supposed to be there. I really want to fix that.
That's so funny. Whenever I'm doing my social media posts or emails to guests on the show who are authors, I'm always like worried my grammar's off or something's wrong. And I'm like, oh man, I hope they know I'm still professional.
Well, it's a joke too, because I'm a horrible speller. So I'm the last person who should be really copy editing anything because I get the homophones wrong all the time. And I know the difference. I absolutely know the difference. But I'm going too fast. So I'll get them wrong most of the time. But I shouldn't be, my hands should be off other people's stuff. But I still enjoy it.
What is the most random nerdy thing about you?
So I'm left-handed, and
me too.
You are.
I am.
You know the struggle then.
Yes, I do.
Stamping of the hand, you drag your hand through the ink. So you know the struggle of finding the most perfect writing utensil out there, right? And I have yet to find one.
Oh, no. Oh, man. I was like, ooh, is this the big reveal?
I was really hoping I'd get an answer from you. No, I have yet to find. Even the Blackwing, even my precious Blackwing still smudges and smears everything. I need Ned Flanders' Leptorium or Leptorium, whatever his store was called. I need the answer. I can't believe somebody has not come up with a solution to this problem. There are enough left-handed people in this world that there needs to be. I mean, the pain of not being able to use a gel pen it's real.
Yeah. I never realized that it didn't happen to other people until I started reading online other people complaining about it. I was like, oh, I just thought it was normal that you just get ink or lead all over your hand.
It's constant. It's like this little pinky is always, it's just a little stamp across all my paper all the time.
Yeah. So tell us about your journey into fandom and writing.
I've always been a fan of horror and horror stories and scary stories.
Ooh. What are some of your favorites?
I probably read Stephen King too young, which I feel like I hear that a lot. Like a lot of people started with Stephen King too young. But I think it was because when I was coming up, we had a few really great writers for young adults of horror, but there wasn't a ton of variety readily available out there. So I think a lot of us who liked horror moved immediately to adult fiction.
That's a good point.
Some of my favorites are like The Shining, and things that were totally not appropriate for me growing up are just absolute classics. And Stand, actually, which isn't horror necessarily, but it was just epic. It was epic tales, really incredible. I think that definitely it piqued my interest in writing, but it never really occurred to me that I could be a writer until I got to the college level. And even then, writing didn't seem like a viable career path for some reason I thought writing for film would be more of a viable career path than a novelist, which I don't know why that seemed like it would be more attainable because they're both incredibly competitive and difficult careers. But when I took a screenwriting class, I was pretty terrible at it. And the professor pretty much said, "You're writing a novel here, you're not writing a screenplay. Why don't you just write a book? Like,
Oh,
what are
wow.
you sort of you wasting your time doing this? Like, why don't you just put your endeavors toward writing a book, clearly what you want to do anyway?
Wow.
You're wasting your money and time in my class, and you're
What was
wasting
it
my time."
what was it like to hear that?
I I was really discouraged at the time, but a few years later, I applied for grad school, and it was really good advice. He was a grumpy dude, and he was 100% right. Sometimes it's in the worst scenarios and in the harshest ways you get the best advice, and I needed to hear it when I needed to hear it, and I guess in the way I needed to hear it because it resonated.
Wow. Okay, so then you went through school, you applied to grad school, and what was your journey like?
My journey was going after a job that paid, but that allowed me to write while I was working. So a job that allowed me to work on the sly. And that's how I wrote
Smart.
my first book.
Oh, cool.
So I wrote my first book on the job, actually. And I wrote my first two books, actually, now that I think about it. And the first one that got published, I wrote on the job. And that's how I got my first agent, too.
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna ask, like, how did you go from writing to then finding an agent and a publisher? Because I know that process is really scary.
It is. It is. My trajectory was fairly traditional. So typically, writers will finish a novel, they will query agents. So it's an awful lot like looking for a job. You research the agent just like you would research a company. You determine what their requirements are. You send off a query letter to see if they would be interested in what you've written after determining whether or not they're an agent that represents the kind of work that you've written. And they'll ask to see if they're interested, they'll ask to see either a portion of or your entire manuscript. My agent wanted to see mine, then he wanted to see some changes, and he eventually signed me. And my first book did not sell. He sent it out to multiple editors, it just didn't sell. And I told him I was working on something new and gave him a synopsis of what I was working on. He was like, "Write that one. Don't revise this one. We'll table this one for now. Write that one." And his instinct was 100% right, like it always is. And that was the first one that sold. That was The Murmurings.
Wow. So not only do you have to write the work, but you also have to write a really good letter to catch like the agent's attention so that they want to follow up with you.
Yeah. I did a lot of research on what makes a good query letter, and just like anything else that you research in a creative field or really any field, I mean, if you were to research what makes a good cover letter for a
Hmm.
resume, you would get the same, or what makes a good resume, get the same kind of results. For every search you do, you get a different answer. Do this, 100% do this. Absolutely don't do that. You get opposite reactions and opposite responses to every question that you have. It really, I think, depends on the agent. It really depends on the work, and it just depends on whether or not you're a good match for what they're looking for at the time, what they represent on the whole, and whether or not you two are compatible personality wise.
That's a good point.
They're going to be with you ideally long term for the entirety of your career, ideally. It's important to get it right, and it only takes the one match to make.
Mm.
So it's an important letter, yes, but frankly, it's more important that the book is good, and they'll know. They'll be able to tell just from the little synopsis that you give in your query letter.
So what was it like for you then to have your first book sell?
It was a dream. It was an absolute
Yeah.
dream. I really, to be honest, didn't know how much of a dream it was when it sold. It was a two-book deal the first time that it sold. I didn't realize how much of a big deal that was until future books didn't sell. It feels anyway, it's always like starting fresh every time. You have a little clout behind you after having sold a book, but really every new book you write is starting from the ground up again. I mean, you're putting a new project out there. So yes, previous publications help, and yes, previous sales help, but really what matters the most is the book viable? Is that what publishers want right now? Is that what audiences, what readers are looking for right now? If it's not going to sell. It might be a wonderful book. It might just be bad timing. It
Mm.
might be a fantastic book. It's just not what readers are looking for right now. It's not what editors are looking for in that time. Or it might be fantastic, but somebody might have gotten to the idea before you, and an editor might have just acquired a book that's too similar to yours or something. It's still very much, it feels like you're starting from zero when you go out with a new project every time. And it's not a guarantee just because you've been published before that you're going to get published again.
Wow. So, how do you deal with that uncertainty?
I have a really great support system.
Yeah.
My partner and my kids are fantastic. And my writing group, I have a writing group that I've had since grad school. We've been together for almost 13 years. They are an amazing group of writers, and we lean on each other a lot for these situations. And it's good to be able to have people in your life who understand that sort of creative life and know the ups and downs of it, who are familiar with the uncertainty of it. That's helpful to have people in your life who know that there's a lot of rejection that goes with the successors, and it feels like a career that moves in seasons, not just in sales seasons but also just in life seasons. You'll have seasons of your career that are booming and other ones that are fallow, and there are more times where you're maybe generating a lot more work than you're selling, for
Mm.
instance, and times when it's really good and you're selling a lot and royalties are coming in, and you're feeling pretty good about yourself, and you're like out there and your books are on the shelf and your name is recognized, and things like that. So it can be a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah. But it seems like it's really important to not take those rejections and just give up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm not going to say haven't been times when it's been tempting,
Oh, yeah.
certainly,
I'm sure.
to say, maybe that office job that I had when I was getting a steady paycheck, and that seemed a lot more attractive at the time. And there were times certainly when that was the only option. Writing took a second seat, and that was just the way it had to be. I'm fortunate now that we're able to work with my husband's income, and I live in Korea now. His job brought us to Korea, and one of the benefits of that is that I'm able to write full time, but not an arrangement or a situation that's always been the case, and that's certainly not an arrangement or a situation that's the case for a lot of writers.
So, what does it feel like to be able to write full time?
It feels like a gift. It feels like something I don't want to squander. I
Mm.
absolutely have to have something that resembles some sort of routine, or the day can slip away fairly easily. Working from home is challenging because home is very tempting
Mm.
to waste time in. I mean, maybe I should rephrase that. I don't know if it's wasted time. Home is a tempting place to spend time doing things that weren't writing.
Yeah, I get that.
You can't write every second of every day, and every spare moment can't be filled with writing, but certainly space can be made for writing that's dedicated time just for that, and it should be.
So, what is the writing world and book publishing industry like?
I would say it's a small world, to be sure. It feels like you end up interacting with everyone in the world at some point in time. So it's really important to make good relationships with people
Mm.
within the industry. Authors, on the whole, are a really, really kind, friendly bunch, I would say, especially like, well, I interact in the young adult and middle grade.
Young adult's my favorite. I love YA.
I'm so glad to hear that. That's my world. That's the circle I travel in. And I find the authors to be just really kind, generous, warm people. Same with the editors, same with the agents, same with all the professionals who move in that circle. So it makes it really easy to form great relationships within that world. It's also such a great place for the fandom. The readers in that world are phenomenal. They are truly just the most passionate readers. Influencers are on point. They are so there for it. And I love, love, love the fact that they are. The librarians in that world are phenomenal. It's a really fun world to be in for a high pressure job, for a job that's, that's got deadlines and can be a lot to live up to and a lot of creative pressure. It's worth it for all of those reasons.
Oh man, I mean, you describing it, I'm like, oh, this sounds amazing. I want to be a YA author, even though I'm
Do
not
it,
a
do
writer.
it.
I'm interviewing so many authors on the show, and I'm just like so fascinated. I'm like, I kind of want to write. I want to join like the cool kid club over here, but
Oh,
I
you
don't.
should, you should.
I feel like I need to have a story to tell, though. I feel like I have to know what I would want to write going into it. Is that what like how you work? Do you kind of know what you want to write?
Yeah, usually
Yeah.
I've got a story in
Yeah.
mind or a sense of I know what journey the character is going to be on. I know that they're going to go on they're going to have a particular kind of emotional journey. And I
Yeah.
won't know plot wise what that is yet, but I know what their ride is going to be.
That's so cool. So do these ideas just kind of pop into your head?
Yeah, I mean, having kids that are kind of roughly that age doesn't hurt, or they're approaching that age, so that doesn't hurt. But for the most part, it's just a lot of remembering what it's like to be that age because in so many ways we don't outgrow those feelings. I
True.
do like to tell kids that like it does get better and it really does, but there's a lot that doesn't go away. It sort of morphs and you become older and get better at dealing. Like it becomes a lot easier to be a nerd,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah. Less of that stigma and the pressure. It becomes more cool to be a nerd.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You get to be on podcasts for being a nerd.
You get to start a podcast about being nerdy. What is it like for you to have people read what you write and like it?
It's still surreal. There's no getting around that. That's still feels like it feels like a pinch me and wake me up kind of scenario. I'm still not used to it. I love it, but I'm blown away by it, but it doesn't feel real yet. I'm not sure it ever will. I hope
Yeah.
it doesn't.
There's a magic to that.
It is. It is a magical feeling.
Yeah. Do your kids read what you write?
No, they don't. And I'm not sure they will. I think my one son has read some Five Nights at Freddy's, but that's it. My one son is super into manga, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like he's reading like a lot of One Piece right now, and that's his thing. And then my younger son is really into like Diary of a Wimpy Kid and stuff like that, and Big Nate, and they lean more toward humor and things like that. They love scary movies and stuff, but when they read, they really prefer humor. So that it's just not their jam.
Yeah, that's funny.
I know.
How has being an author changed your life?
Such a good question. Because I never, for as much as it's a real being one, I didn't consider being anything else. I knew that I would take jobs to make money at times because that was just necessary. But it never occurred to me not to try. I was going to try to be an author, and I was going to keep trying until something happened with it. Whether or not I was going to be able to call myself an author, I think was on the table. I wasn't sure whether or not I would be able to say, oh, yeah, I'm an author now. And I still don't know really what that means, what qualifies one to be able to say that. It's like, how many books does it take? Or how do you have to get published in order to be one? Like what? Do you have to be traditionally published? Can you self-publish? Can you There's a lot of, I mean, it's my opinion, like you can be an author if you write. You know what I mean? Like you're a writer, you're an author. Like done deal. But I think a lot of other people have different opinions about that. And so how it's changed my life, it really hasn't changed it so much as it's maybe changed the way I view careers in general. I think I'm very fortunate in that I get to have a career that is less stable. That's a privilege. And that's a privilege a lot of people don't get to have because it is an unstable industry and it's an unstable job. So that has made me very aware of the fact that I hold a certain amount of privilege that other people don't get to have.
So it definitely doesn't sound like you take any of it for granted.
I'm sure I do. I'm sure there are times, especially when I'm under deadline and I'm feeling the strain of the deadline, that if I'm vetching and feeling a little bit, under the gun, then I'm probably taking it for granted more than I should.
What has been the most surprising part of being an author?
Definitely learning the differences in the types of publishing, the different avenues that you can take to the publishing space, and different types of publishing, like work for hire, which is working for a licensed property or an intellectual property, or what it is to write your own work. And I've done both now. What it is to self-publish, which I haven't done. I've only done traditional publishing. But I know people who have done both and have liked it, one way or the other for different reasons, or have liked it better for one project versus another. They've liked self-publishing for this project, but preferred traditional publishing for a different project or something like that. So there are a lot of different paths to publishing, and it's been really interesting to see how that's evolving with the times.
Yeah, I didn't even know self-publishing was a thing until a few years ago.
Yeah, and it's become much more of a thing now with companies, like Amazon, offering platforms and things like that to be able to publish your own work. It still takes a tremendous amount of work on the part of the author to do it. And I still think you have to be incredibly savvy in a lot of areas of publishing in order to do that. And you're still taking on a lot of initial expense, no matter how you look at it, in order to do that. It's a viable way to go. It can be, anyway, for the right person and for the right project.
What does being a nerd mean to you?
I think it means being unapologetically me. I think it means being authentically me. It's with all the dorkiness that comes with me. And fortunately, I think that sort of goes hand in hand with being a writer. I'm in good company. I'm with my people already. The writing world, the reading world, I mean, we're already full of nerds. We were nerds to begin with. All this talk of copywriting and pencils and
I love it.
World, we're already there. I'm already with my people. I think being a nerd is being free to be that person unapologetically, whatever that interest is.
Yeah.
It's going fully into that interest. If you're like a Dungeons and Dragons nerd and you're like fully that Dungeons and Dragons nerd, you're just like, you are it and you embrace it and you embody it fully. That's what it is, unapologetically.
Yeah, I love it. I love how you say also embracing like dorkiness. Love it. So now we are going to go into our geeky recommendations to help you embrace your nerdiness. Today, I want to recommend a book that I read a few years ago that I actually really, really loved, and I think a lot of you will love it as well. It's called An Absolutely Remarkable Thing, and it's by Hank Green. And it's really cool. If you like YA, sci-fi, and aliens in a modern world, I definitely recommend that you check it out.
I love yours. The Hank Green's John Green's brother, right? And they do the duo on.
I think it's called like the Nerd Fighters or something like
that.
Yes,
yeah. I just want to encourage everyone to embrace their nerdiness because we need more nerds in the world. More people expressing their authentic selves and being brave to the extent that you're comfortable being brave so that other people can find you. So that other nerds can find you, because it would have been so great growing up to find more nerds like me. And
Yeah.
I think if I had been more comfortable in my own skin at that time, embracing it and just going full throttle into my dorkiness, I would have found my people sooner. And if other people are comfortable doing that, you can find each other sooner in life, in adolescence.
Yeah.
Like, how cool would that be?
I
If
know.
you could actually find your people and like in teen years, I think that would be amazing
Yeah.
to the extent that you're comfortable. So
Oh,
like if teachers and if librarians and guidance counselors can create more clubs and more activities and hangouts and things like that during school and after school that embrace Dungeons and Dragons
love
and
that.
book clubs, fantasy hour, and things like that. I think that
Oh,
would,
fantasy hour. I love that.
or just like
Yeah.
playing pretend. I don't know, but just something that would be like attractive to the imaginative kid. I think that would be a great way for kids to be able to find each other.
Love that. That's great advice. Thank you so much, Carly, for being here. This was a lot of fun. As soon as we wrap up, I'm gonna go, search for all this office supplies. I'm like, ooh, it's a great pencil, to-do list. I'm ready. Where can people find you?
I am on Instagram at Carly, and I think it's Carly Westbrook. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that. I'm
I will
terrible
I
with
will put it in
username.
the show notes. Check out the show notes. This way you could follow Carly.
And yes, and carlyannwest.com. Those are the easiest ways to find me.
Awesome. Again, thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a blast.
I'm so glad. I love talking nerdy.
Yes.
All right, everybody, please make sure that you are following That Nerd Thing in your favorite podcast app so that you never miss an episode. And I would love it if you can leave the podcast a review in Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you're watching the show on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe and like this video. You can get in touch with me at thatnerdthingpod@gmail.com. And you can also follow the show on Instagram and TikTok at thatnerdthingpod. And please share the show with your nerdy friends, and I will see you next time.